Welcome once again, race fans, to the NASCAR Hall of Fame here in Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Bassmaster, standing with Buzz McKim, resident historian here at the Hall. And we're in the families section of the Hall. A lot of great stuff. And you have to start, of course, with the first family of racing, one of the first, the Pettys. Mm-hmm. And one of the cool things in this case is a letter from NASCAR to Lee Petty saying, Lee, I hate to have to do this to you, but we've been getting a lot of complaints about you. Tell me about this letter.
Yeah, this letter is to Lee, 1957, from Pat Purcell, who was the executive manager of NASCAR. And he was kind of like the police chief. And he'd just make sure everybody was toeing the line. And he wrote to Lee saying that we've had so many complaints about your rough driving. And Lee could be rough. I mean, in Richard Petty's first Cup race up in Toronto, Canada, Lee put him in the wall because he didn't get out of the way quick enough. And Lee was racing with Cotton Owens, so it didn't matter if it was your kid or not. He's coming through. But Lee was one of the first to actually approach NASCAR racing as a business. And if he didn't perform, they didn't eat. So he had a whole different attitude toward racing than a lot of the guys who would work during the week and race on weekends. But anyway, evidently he was running exceedingly rough during the 1957 season. And Pat Purcell says, we're getting so many complaints coming in from so many different directions that we might have to put a, quote, eye on you. And according to Pat, he says, I hate like heck, but he didn't use the word heck, to do this. But we just had to warn you that the other guys are getting a little upset.
Now, do we know if anything transpired after this? Did they have to do anything to Lee Petty to rein him in?
No, I think that's about all he needed. I mean, he was a good enough driver and he had good enough equipment to where he didn't have to run over everybody. And this was just a little wake-up call for him. But I don't believe there was any fines levied or anything like that.
I heard a funny story about Lee Petty once, that he had a dispute with someone and went and hit him with a newspaper. And the only thing about it was that there was a wrench inside the newspaper. Does that strike you as plausible?
Well, yeah, that could be. In fact, Smokey Eunuch, the great car builder, told us a story about how they were racing up in Pennsylvania somewhere back in the early 50s, and that they were getting paid off in a barn outside, out behind the track. And Lee Petty and Curtis Turner got into a little tussle about something that happened over on the track. So Lee grabbed a hold of Curtis Turner and pushed him up against the wall, but there was a horseshoe hanging on a nail, and it fell off the nail and hit Curtis in the head and knocked him out. So he said about 10 minutes later, old Curtis woke up and said, man, that Lee Petty can hit.
Well, there you go. A lot of interesting artifacts, Petty family memorabilia here at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Do join us when you get a chance.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.